The giant space station called Nexus floated in the empty space between star systems. It was bigger than most moons and had been the meeting place for all important alien races for over 300 years. Today, like every 50 years before, representatives from across the galaxy came together to discuss important matters. Ambassador Kethra walked through the long crystal hallways of the station. Her skin was clear like glass and changed colors when she felt different emotions. Right now it was showing a deep blue color that meant she was worried. She carried a small device in her hand that contained information about a problem that had been bothering the Galactic Council for a very long time. The meeting room was huge and filled with creatures from many different worlds. Some looked like giant insects with too many arms. Others were covered in scales and had eyes that glowed in the dark. Some aliens floated in the air instead of walking, while others needed special suits to breathe the station's air. Despite all their differences, they all had one thing in common. They were part of the Galactic Council, the most powerful group in the known universe. Kethra stepped up to the speaking platform in the center of the room. The noise from hundreds of conversations slowly died down as everyone turned to listen to her. She pressed a button on her device and a large picture appeared in the air above her head. It showed a small blue and green planet spinning slowly in space. "Fellow council members," Kethra began, her voice carrying clearly through the room's sound system. "Once again we must discuss the problem of Earth." A low rumble of voices filled the room. Some aliens shook their heads while others made clicking sounds with their mouths that meant they were annoyed. The planet Earth had been a source of frustration for the Council for over 200 years. "The humans living on this world continue to ignore every message we send them," Kethra continued. "We have tried everything. We sent signals using every known communication method. We broadcast invitations to join our council in over 50 different languages. We even sent unmanned ships to the edge of their solar system with peaceful messages. Nothing works." Commander Lochtal, a large creature covered in dark green scales, stood up from his seat. His people, the Hegemony, were known throughout the galaxy as fierce warriors. "Ambassador Kethra speaks the truth," he said in a deep voice that sounded like rocks grinding together. "My scouts have been watching the humans for many years. They are a primitive species that has not even learned to travel faster than light." Other council members began to speak up. A floating jellyfish-like creature named Velona pulsed with bright lights as she talked. "The electromagnetic signals coming from their planet are getting stronger every year. They are clearly developing technology, but they refuse to join galactic civilization." "Perhaps they are afraid," suggested Ambassador Zenkill, whose people looked like walking trees with silver bark. "Many primitive species fear contact with more advanced civilizations." Kethra shook her head, making her glass-like skin shimmer in the room's light. "Our xenology experts have studied their radio and television broadcasts for decades. The humans are not afraid of meeting alien life. In fact, their entertainment shows are full of stories about aliens visiting their world. They seem to want contact, but they ignore our real attempts to communicate." Commander Lochtal's scales turned a darker shade of green, which meant he was getting angry. "I believe the humans are simply too primitive to understand our messages. Their technology is hundreds of years behind ours. They still use chemical rockets to barely reach their own moon. Their weapons are crude nuclear devices that would be useless against any council ship." "That may be true," said Kethra, "but we cannot allow any world to remain outside the Council's protection indefinitely. The galaxy is becoming more dangerous every year. Pirate fleets roam the outer systems. Unknown threats emerge from the dark spaces between stars. Every inhabited world needs the Council's protection, whether they want it or not." The room erupted in discussions as aliens talked among themselves in dozens of different languages. Some believed the humans should be left alone until they developed better technology. Others thought it was dangerous to let any world stay independent. A few suggested sending a military fleet to force the humans to join the Council. Kethra waited for the noise to die down before speaking again. "The Council has debated this issue for too long. Every 50 years we have the same discussion about Earth. The humans continue to ignore us and we continue to do nothing about it. This cannot go on forever." She pressed another button on her device and new images appeared in the air. These showed detailed maps of Earth's continents and major cities. Red dots marked locations where the strongest radio signals came from. "Our long-range sensors show that human technology is advancing rapidly," Kethra explained. "In just the last century, they have developed computers, satellites, and global communication networks. They are on the verge of achieving space travel beyond their own moon. If we wait much longer, they may develop weapons that could threaten Council ships. Commander Lochtal laughed, a sound like rocks falling down a mountain. Impossible. Even if the humans had another 1,000 years, they could never match Council technology. Our ships can destroy entire planets. Our weapons can tear holes in space itself. These humans are insects compared to us. But Kethra looked serious as she responded. Commander, you underestimate the danger of leaving any species outside Council control. History has shown us what happens when primitive worlds are allowed to develop without guidance. They become unpredictable. They create unstable technologies. Sometimes they even become threats to galactic peace. The debate continued for several more hours. Some Council members shared stories of primitive worlds that had surprised everyone by developing dangerous technologies quickly. Others argued that humans seemed peaceful based on their radio broadcasts and should be left alone. Finally, the Council leader, an ancient being whose species was so old that no one remembered their original name, called for a vote. The question was simple. Should the Council classify Earth as a non-responsive civilization and authorize military action to force them to join? One by one, representatives from each species cast their votes. The floating creatures voted yes. The tree-like beings voted yes. The scaled warriors voted yes. Even the peaceful races that usually avoided conflict voted yes. They all agreed that no world could be allowed to remain outside the Council's control. When the voting was finished, Kethra announced the results. The motion passes unanimously. Earth is now classified as a non-responsive civilization. Military action is authorized to bring them into the Council by force if necessary. Commander Lochtal stood up again, his scales now bright green with excitement. My ships can reach the Sol system in 30 standard days. The humans will have no choice but to surrender when they see the power of the Council. As the meeting ended and aliens began to leave the Great Hall, none of them noticed a small device hidden in the station's communication system. The device had been recording everything for the past 200 years, sending detailed reports back to a small blue planet in a distant solar system. On Earth, someone had been listening to every word. 3 kilometers below the mountains of Korea, Admiral Hyunwoo Kim stood in a room that did not officially exist. The walls were made of a special metal that could block any kind of scanning from space. The lights came from panels that gave off no heat that alien sensors could detect. Everything in this place was designed to remain hidden from the galaxy above. The room was filled with screens showing pictures and data from across the solar system. Some screens showed Earth's cities, where normal people lived their normal lives without knowing about the secret that lay beneath their feet. Other screens showed the dark space between planets where Earth's real defenders waited in silence. Admiral Hyunwoo was 53 years old and had spent his entire adult life preparing for this day. His hair was gray at the edges and his eyes were sharp from years of studying alien technology. He wore a simple black uniform with no decorations, because this was not a military that sought glory. This was a military that sought survival. "Admiral," said a voice behind him. He turned to see Captain Sojin Park walking toward him. She was young for such an important job, only 32 years old, but she had proven herself to be one of the best starship commanders Earth had ever trained. Her short black hair was tied back in a practical style, and her eyes showed the intelligence that had earned her this position. "Captain Park?" Admiral Hyunwoo replied with a small nod. "What is the status of our preparations?" Captain Sojin touched a control panel, and one of the large screens changed to show a view of space that would have amazed anyone from the surface world. Hundreds of ships floated in perfect formations in the darkness between Earth and Mars. They were unlike any ships that humans were supposed to be able to build. They were long and smooth, with surfaces that seemed to bend light around them. Each ship was the size of a city block and contained weapons that could crack a moon in half. Shipyard Delta 7 completed 50 more vessels yesterday, Captain Sojin reported. The new quantum stealth drives are working better than we hoped. Our ships can now move through space without leaving any trace that alien sensors can detect. We currently have 4,237 ships ready for combat operations. Admiral Hyunwoo smiled, but there was no joy in it. "Excellent. And the crews?" "All ships are fully staffed with volunteers," Captain Sojin answered. "Every person on those ships knows what we are facing. They know that if we fail, Earth becomes a slave world under alien control." Dr. Woo Seok Lee approached them from across the room. He was a thin man with thick glasses who looked more like a university professor than someone who worked on military secrets. But Dr. Lee was one of the most important people in Earth's hidden defense program. He was the head of the Xenological Research Division, the group responsible for studying everything the aliens had taught them without meaning to. "Admiral." "Captain," Dr. Lee said, holding a small device in his hand. "We have intercepted another transmission from the Galactic Council. They have just finished their latest meeting about Earth." Admiral Hyunwoo felt his stomach tighten. What did they decide? Dr. Lee activated his device and alien voices filled the room. The translation software turned their strange sounds into Korean words that the humans could understand. They listened as Ambassador Keth Ra announced that Earth had been classified as a non-responsive civilization. They heard Commander Loktal boast about how his ships would force Earth to surrender. When the recording ended, the room was silent for a long moment. Captain So-jin was the first to speak. "They really think we are primitives." "That is exactly what we wanted them to think," Admiral Hyunwoo replied. "For 200 years we have let them believe that Earth is a backward world with simple technology. While they ignored us, we learned everything about them." Dr. Lee nodded enthusiastically. "The aliens made a crucial mistake when they started broadcasting their communications through our solar system. They thought we were too primitive to understand their signals, so they did not bother to encrypt them properly. For decades, we have been recording every message, every technical manual, every military report that passed through our space." He gestured to a wall covered with screens showing alien ship designs. "We know exactly how their faster-than-light drives work. We know the composition of their armor. We know the frequency of their shields. We have studied their tactics in 100 different battles against other species." Captain So-jin walked over to another display that showed Earth's solar system. Small dots marked the positions of hidden observation posts throughout the area. "We have been watching every alien ship that came near our system. When they sent those unmanned probes with peaceful messages, we captured them and reverse-engineered their technology. When they left communication satellites at the edge of our space, we hacked them and used them to spy on their networks." Admiral Hyunwoo remembered the early days of the program, when he was just a young officer working in a small underground facility. Back then, they had only hoped to build a few ships that might be able to escape Earth if the aliens ever invaded. Now they had something much more powerful. "The aliens think that humans are simple creatures who only know how to build chemical rockets," he said. "They have never seen a species that could advance so quickly by learning from others. They do not understand that humans are very good at taking apart machines and building better versions." Dr. Lee pulled up another screen showing human shipyards hidden in asteroid belts throughout the solar system. "Our manufacturing capabilities now exceed those of most individual alien species. We can build ships faster than the hegemony. Our computers are more advanced than Viridian technology. Our weapons are more powerful than anything in the Council fleet." But Admiral Hyunwoo knew that raw power was not enough. Numbers and technology mean nothing without the right strategy. The Galactic Council controls thousands of worlds and millions of ships. If we fought them in a straight battle, we would eventually lose. Captain So-jin understood what he meant. "That is why we have remained hidden. Let them think we are weak until the moment we choose to reveal ourselves. When that moment comes, we need to make sure they understand that attacking Earth would cost them more than they are willing to pay." The Admiral walked over to a large table in the center of the room. On it was a three-dimensional map of the local area of the galaxy, showing the positions of all the major alien civilizations. Red lines marked the routes that Council fleets used to travel between their worlds. Blue dots showed where Earth spy satellites were hidden, watching and listening. "Dr. Lee," Admiral Hyunwoo said, "how long do we have before Commander Loktal's ships reach our system?" Dr. Lee checked his device. "Based on the speed of hegemony vessels and the distance they must travel, approximately 32 days. Then it is time to begin Phase 1 of our response plan," the Admiral announced. "Captain Park, send orders to all ship commanders. They are to prepare for immediate deployment to Council space." Captain So-jin looked surprised. "Sir, are we going to attack their ships before they reach Earth?" Admiral Hyunwoo shook his head. "No, Captain. We are going to do something much more effective. We are going to attend their next Council meeting." Dr. Lee's eyes widened behind his glasses. "Admiral, that is incredibly dangerous. If something goes wrong, we could lose the advantage of surprise." The advantage of surprise only works if we eventually use it, Admiral Hyunwoo replied. The time for hiding is over. The aliens have decided to invade Earth. Now we must show them why that would be a mistake. He turned to face both of his officers. For 2 centuries, Earth has been silent while the galaxy made decisions about our future without asking us. That ends today. It is time for humans to have a voice in galactic affairs. Captain Sojin straightened to attention. What are your orders, sir? Admiral Hyunwoo smiled, and this time there was determination in his expression. Prepare the fleet for immediate departure to Station Nexus. We have a council meeting to attend. As alarms began to sound throughout the hidden facility, thousands of human ships in the darkness of space received new orders. The galaxy was about to learn that Earth had not been sleeping for the past 200 years. They had been preparing. Station Nexus had been the center of galactic civilization for over 300 years. Its massive crystal halls had seen treaties signed between species that had been enemies for millennia. Its council chambers had witnessed the rise and fall of entire star empires. But nothing in its long history had prepared it for what was about to happen. Ambassador Kethra sat in her private quarters, reviewing reports about the upcoming military action against Earth. The crystal walls of her room showed a view of the space around the station, where dozens of council ships moved in patrol patterns. Everything seemed peaceful and normal. The first sign that something was wrong came from the station's automatic defense systems. Deep in the mechanical levels of Nexus, computers that had been built by the galaxy's most advanced species suddenly began receiving signals they had never seen before. Sensors that could detect ships from thousands of light years away started picking up readings that made no sense. Sensor operator Dexvi was working the night shift in the station's main control room. She belonged to a species that looked like giant octopuses with blue skin and could process information faster than most computers. Her people were considered the best sensor operators in the galaxy, which was why the Council always gave them this important job. Dexvi's 8 arms moved across her control panels with practiced skill, monitoring the space around Station Nexus for any threats. The screens in front of her showed the normal traffic of Council ships coming and going. Some were bringing supplies from nearby worlds. Others were carrying diplomats and officials for various meetings. Everything was exactly as it should be. Then the alarm started screaming. "What is happening?" shouted Commander Lochtal as he rushed into the control room. He had been in his quarters planning the upcoming invasion of Earth. When the emergency signals woke him up, Dexvi's arms were moving so fast they became a blur as she tried to understand what her sensors were telling her. "Commander, I am detecting massive spatial distortions throughout the area around the station. Something very large is about to emerge from hyperspace." "How large?" Commander Lochtal demanded. "I cannot be certain," Dexvi replied, her voice starting to shake. "The energy readings are unlike anything in our databases. Whatever is coming, it is much bigger than a normal fleet." More aliens rushed into the control room as the alarms continued to sound. Ambassador Kethra arrived with several other council members, all demanding to know what was happening. The floating jellyfish creature Vel-Ona pulsed with rapid flashes of light that showed she was extremely worried. "Could it be the Pirates of the Void?" asked Ambassador Zenkil, his tree-like body creaking with concern. "We have received reports that they are building larger ships." Commander Lochtal shook his scaled head. "No pirate fleet could generate energy readings this strong. This must be something else." Suddenly, the space around Station Nexus began to change. Reality itself seemed to bend and twist as holes opened in the fabric of space-time. These were not the normal controlled openings that Council ships used when they traveled faster than light. These were something completely different. Precise tiers in space that appeared with mathematical perfection. "Multiple hyperspace breaches detected," Dexvi announced, her voice now filled with panic. "Ships are emerging." The first vessel to appear was unlike anything any of them had ever seen. It was long and sleek, with surfaces that seemed to absorb light instead of reflecting it. Strange energy patterns flowed across its hull like living lightning. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Then more ships appeared, and more, and more. They emerged from hyperspace in perfect formations, each one taking its assigned position with mechanical precision. The ships formed geometric patterns around Station Nexus that would have been impossible to achieve without incredible coordination and planning. "How many ships are there?" Commander Lochtal whispered, his scales turning pale with fear. Dexvi's arms trembled as she worked her controls. "The sensor readings are confusing, Commander. These ships seem to be using some kind of stealth technology that makes it difficult to get accurate counts. Conservative estimate, 8,000 vessels, but there could be many more. The control room fell silent except for the humming of computers and the sound of aliens breathing heavily. Every species represented in that room had built great fleets of warships. They had seen the mighty armadas of the hegemony and the advanced squadrons of the Viridian Empire. But none of them had ever imagined that 8,000 ships could appear so suddenly and move with such perfect coordination. "Who are they?" asked Velona, her jellyfish body pulsing with confused colors. "No species in the galaxy has this kind of technology." Ambassador Kethra stared at the screens showing the mysterious fleet. Something about the ship seemed familiar, but she could not identify what it was. "Have we tried to communicate with them?" "They are not responding to any of our standard greeting protocols," Dexvi reported. "I have broadcast welcome messages in over 100 languages, but they remain silent." Commander Lochtal's military training took over despite his fear. "All council ships are to maintain defensive positions. Do not take any aggressive actions until we know what these strangers want." That was when the voice came through the station's communication system. It was a calm, measured voice speaking perfect galactic standard with only a slight accent that most aliens would not be able to identify. But Ambassador Kethra had spent years studying the electromagnetic signals from a certain small blue planet, and she recognized that accent immediately. "Greetings, Galactic Council," the voice said. "This is Admiral Hyun-Woo Kim of the Earth Defense Fleet. We apologize for missing your previous meetings. We were preparing. We are here now to discuss Earth's position in galactic affairs." The silence that followed was so complete that it seemed to suck all sound out of the universe. Every alien in the control room stared at the screens, showing the massive fleet surrounding their station. Their minds struggled to process what they had just heard. "Earth?" Commander Lochtal finally managed to say. But they are primitives. They do not even have faster-than-light travel." Ambassador Kethra felt her glass-like skin changing to colors she had never experienced before. "Admiral Kim," she said, activating the station's communication system. "This is Ambassador Kethra of the Viridian Empire. We were not expecting to hear from Earth." The human voice replied with what sounded like mild amusement. "I imagine you were not. Earth has been rather quiet for the past few centuries. We felt it was time to introduce ourselves properly." More council members were arriving in the control room every minute as news of the fleet spread throughout the station. The council leader himself appeared, his ancient form moving slowly but purposefully through the crowd. He had lived for over 1,000 years and had seen many surprising things, but even he seemed shaken by what was happening. "Human Admiral," the council leader said in his deep, echoing voice, "our records indicate that your species lacks the technology for space travel beyond your own moon. How do you explain the presence of this fleet?" There was a pause before Admiral Hyun-Woo answered. When he spoke, there was a hint of something that might have been pride in his voice. "Honored Council Leader, your records are somewhat out of date. Earth has been developing new capabilities while maintaining our previous policy of non-interference in galactic affairs." Commander Lochtal could not contain himself any longer. "This is impossible. Our intelligence reports show that humans still use chemical rockets and primitive computers. How could you have built ships like these?" "Commander Lochtal," the Admiral replied, somehow knowing exactly who was speaking. "Your intelligence reports show only what we wanted you to see. Earth has found it useful to appear less advanced than we actually are." Ambassador Kethra realized what this meant. For over 200 years, the Council had been sending communication signals through the Sol system, assuming the primitive humans could not understand them. They had discussed military plans, technological secrets, and political strategies while thinking Earth was too backward to listen. "You have been monitoring our communications," she said, her skin now showing colors of embarrassment and fear. "We have been learning," Admiral Hyun-Woo corrected gently. "Earth is very good at learning from others." The council leader raised one of his ancient hands for silence. "Admiral Kim, why have you come to our station with such a large fleet? What does Earth want?" The answer came back immediately, calm and confident. "We want to talk." Around Station Nexus, 8,000 human warships maintained their perfect formations, their dark hulls reflecting no light as they waited for their leaders to begin the most important conversation in Earth's history. The galaxy was about to discover that the quiet little planet they had ignored for so long had become something they never expected. The Great Council chamber of Station Nexus had been quickly reorganized for the most unusual diplomatic meeting in galactic history. Workers had rushed to install a new table and chairs suitable for human physiology, while the station's environmental systems were adjusted to provide the specific mixture of gases that humans needed to breathe. 5 humans sat at their newly installed table, looking remarkably calm, considering they were surrounded by hundreds of alien beings who could have destroyed their entire species just days ago. Admiral Hyunwoo Kim sat in the center, his posture straight and confident. To his right sat Captain Sojin Park, her dark eyes constantly scanning the room and noting the positions of every potential threat. To his left sat Dr. Woo-seok Lee, who had several small devices on the table in front of him. The other 2 humans were new to the aliens. Commander Da-hyun Choi was a woman in her 40s with graying hair, who introduced herself as the head of Earth's Military Intelligence Division. She spoke very little but seemed to notice everything that happened around her. Ambassador Min Ho-yoon was younger, perhaps 35 years old, and had been chosen as Earth's first official representative to galactic civilization. Ambassador Keth Ra sat across from the humans, her transparent skin still showing colors of confusion and worry. Next to her, Commander Loktal's scales had settled into a dark gray color that indicated he was trying to control his emotions. The other council members filled the rest of the massive chamber, creating an audience of thousands of alien beings all focused on the 5 humans. Before we begin formal discussions, Ambassador Keith Ra said carefully, "We must address the obvious question. How is it possible that Earth has developed such advanced technology without any of us knowing about it?" Ambassador Minho smiled politely, the expression seeming strange to aliens who were not used to human facial features. Ambassador Keth Ra, I think the more accurate question is how Earth developed this technology because all of you knew about it. The statement created a wave of confused sounds throughout the chamber, as aliens whispered to each other in dozens of different languages. Commander Loktal leaned forward, his massive frame making the furniture creak. "Explain what you mean by that." Dr. Woo-seok activated one of his devices and a 3-dimensional display appeared above the table. It showed a timeline stretching back 200 years, with thousands of data points marked along its length. "Every signal the Council has broadcast through our solar system, every unmanned probe you sent to observe us, every communication satellite you placed at the edge of our space. We recorded everything." The display zoomed in to show specific examples. Technical specifications for alien ship engines, military tactical manuals, scientific research reports, diplomatic communications between different species. All of it had been captured and analyzed by Earth's hidden intelligence networks. "This is impossible," said Velona, her jellyfish body flashing with rapid bursts of light. "Our communications are encrypted using quantum-level security protocols that no primitive species could break." Captain So-jin spoke for the first time since the meeting began. "Your security protocols were designed to prevent other galactic civilizations from reading your messages. They were not designed to stop a species that approached the problem from a completely different direction." She gestured to Dr. Lee, who brought up another display showing human computer systems. "Earth's approach to information processing developed along different lines than yours. While you focused on creating faster quantum computers, we developed systems that could think in ways similar to biological brains. When our artificial intelligence networks encountered your encryption, they did not try to break it through mathematical force. Instead, they learned to think like the aliens who had created it." The council leader's ancient voice echoed through the chamber. "You created artificial minds that could think like us?" "We created artificial minds that could think like anyone," Admiral Hyun-woo replied. "Human technology has always been based on adaptability rather than raw power. When we encounter something we do not understand, we study it until we can replicate it and improve upon it." Commander Loktal's scales began to shift toward red, indicating rising anger. "Even if you could read our communications, that does not explain how you built a fleet of 8,000 warships. The manufacturing capabilities required would be enormous." Commander Da-hyun spoke for the first time, her voice quiet but carrying clearly through the chamber. "Commander, your own intelligence reports contain detailed information about asteroid mining operations throughout our solar system. Did your analysts never wonder why humans would need so much raw material when you believed we were still using chemical rockets?" The commander's expression changed as he realized the implications. The council had been watching Earth's industrial development for decades, but they had interpreted everything they saw in terms of primitive technology. When humans built massive mining operations in the asteroid belt, the aliens assumed it was for simple construction projects on Earth. When human ships began moving large amounts of material through the solar system, they thought it was just inefficient transportation methods. "You hid your shipyards in plain sight," Ambassador Kethra said, her skin showing new colors of understanding. "We were watching for secret military bases, but you built your fleet using industrial operations that looked innocent." "Exactly," said Dr. Lee. "While the council was looking for hidden weapons factories, Earth was building ships inside asteroid mining facilities and research stations. Our manufacturing methods are different from yours, which made it even harder for your sensors to identify what we were really doing." The alien audience grew more restless as they began to understand how completely they had been deceived. Species that prided themselves on their intelligence and advanced technology had been outwitted by what they thought was a primitive world. "Ambassador," Minho sensed the growing tension and decided to address it directly. "Honored council members, please understand that Earth's actions were defensive in nature. We never intended to threaten any galactic civilization. We simply wanted to ensure that our world could protect itself if necessary." "Protect yourself against what?" asked Ambassador Zen Kill, his tree-like form rustling with agitation. "The Galactic Council offers protection to all member worlds. There was no threat to Earth." Admiral Hyunwoo's expression remained calm, but there was steel in his voice when he answered, "With respect, Ambassador Zen Kill, your own council just voted to classify Earth as a non-responsive civilization and authorized military action against us. That does not sound like protection." The chamber fell silent as the aliens realized what the Admiral was saying. Earth had not just been listening to random communications. They had been monitoring the Council's most recent meetings, including the secret session where they had decided to invade the Sol system. Commander Lochtal's scales were now bright red with embarrassment and anger. "That military action was only authorized because you refused to respond to our peaceful overtures for 2 centuries. And now we are responding," Captain Sojin said simply. "Earth formally requests membership in the Galactic Council as an equal partner." The request sent another wave of shocked sounds through the chamber. No world had ever appeared at a council meeting with a fleet of warships and asked to join as an equal member. New civilizations were always inducted gradually, starting as junior members under the protection and guidance of more established species. "This is highly irregular," said the council leader. "The standard process for new members requires extensive evaluation of technological capabilities, cultural compatibility, and military readiness. These evaluations take decades to complete." Dr. Lee smiled and activated another device. New displays appeared showing detailed analyses of every major galactic civilization, population statistics, technological assessments, economic data, military capabilities. Earth had complete intelligence files on every species in the Council. "Honored Council Leader," Dr. Lee said respectfully, "Earth has been conducting our own evaluation process for the past 200 years. We believe we are ready to participate as equal partners in galactic civilization." Ambassador Kethra stared at the displays showing what appeared to be Earth's complete intelligence. "Database on galactic civilization? How do you know so much about all of us?" Commander Da-hyun's expression remained neutral as she answered, "The same way any intelligence service gathers information. We observed, we listened, and we learned. Earth has had covert operatives embedded in most major galactic civilizations for over 50 years." The statement created an explosion of outraged sounds from the alien audience. The idea that primitive humans had been successfully spying on advanced galactic civilizations for decades was almost impossible for them to accept. "Impossible," shouted Commander Lochtal, rising to his feet. "No human could disguise themselves well enough to infiltrate our societies." Captain Sojin touched her wrist communicator, and suddenly the chamber's viewing screens showed images from across the galaxy. A figure that looked like a Viridian diplomat was revealed to be a human in an advanced disguise. A hegemony military officer was shown removing a sophisticated mask to reveal human features underneath. Dozens of similar images flashed by. The chaos in the Great Council chamber gradually died down as the council leader raised his ancient hand for silence. The thousands of alien beings slowly stopped their angry discussions and turned their attention back to the 5 humans who sat calmly at their table, seemingly unaffected by the storm of outrage they had created. Admiral Hyunwoo Kim stood up slowly, his movement deliberate and confident. Despite being surrounded by creatures who could have crushed him with their bare hands, he showed no sign of fear or uncertainty. When he spoke, his voice carried clearly through the vast chamber. "Honored council leader and esteemed representatives," he began, his tone respectful but firm. "Earth formally requests immediate membership in the Galactic Council, not as a protectorate or junior member, but as an equal partner with full voting rights and representation." The request hung in the air like a challenge. Ambassador Kethra felt her transparent skin shifting through colors she had never experienced before. The idea of granting full membership to a species that had just revealed they had been spying on galactic civilization for decades was almost unthinkable. "Admiral Kim," she said carefully, "surely you understand that what you are asking for is unprecedented. No civilization has ever been granted equal membership without going through the standard evaluation and integration process." Ambassador Minho remained seated, but leaned forward slightly. "Ambassador Kethra, with all due respect, no civilization has ever appeared at a council meeting with detailed intelligence files on every member species and 8,000 warships positioned around your primary diplomatic station." His words were spoken politely, but the implied threat was clear to everyone in the chamber. Commander Lochtal's scales had turned dark red with barely controlled anger. "Are you threatening the council, human?" Admiral Hyunwoo shook his head. "Not at all, Commander. We are simply pointing out that the usual procedures may not apply to the current situation." Captain Sojin touched her wrist communicator, and the chamber's main viewing screen activated. It showed a view of the space around Station Nexus where the human fleet maintained their perfect formations. But now something had changed. The ships were no longer hiding behind their stealth fields. "We wanted you to see what you are actually dealing with," Captain Sojin said as the display zoomed in on individual ships. The vessels were even more impressive when fully visible. Their hulls seemed to absorb and redirect light in ways that created an almost hypnotic effect. Energy patterns flowed across their surfaces like living circuits. Dr. Wooseok activated his devices again, and new information appeared on the screens. Technical specifications, power output readings, weapons capabilities, all displayed with casual confidence. These ships represent technology that is approximately 50 to 70 years ahead of current council standards in most areas. The alien audience gasped as they saw the numbers. The human ships were not just numerous. They were individually more advanced than anything in the galactic fleet. "How is this possible?" whispered Velona, her jellyfish body pulsing with confused colors. "You claim to be learning from our technology, but these capabilities exceed our own." "Learning from your technology was just the starting point," Dr. Lee explained. "Humans have a talent for taking existing ideas and improving them in unexpected ways. We studied your ship designs and then asked ourselves how we could make them better." Commander Da-hyun spoke quietly, but her words carried throughout the chamber. "We also had advantages that you did not consider. Earth's population includes over 8 billion humans. Our manufacturing capabilities, when properly organized, exceed those of most galactic civilizations. And we had 200 years to prepare while you assumed we were primitive." The council leader's ancient voice echoed through the chamber. "Even granting your technological advantages, you are still just one world. The Galactic Council represents thousands of inhabited systems with combined fleets numbering in the millions of ships." Admiral Hyunwoo nodded respectfully. "You are absolutely correct, honored council leader. In a war of pure numbers, Earth would eventually lose." He paused, letting that admission sink in before continuing. "However, wars are rarely won by numbers alone." Captain Sojin activated another display showing star charts of the local galactic region. Red lines marked the major trade routes that connected different alien civilizations. Blue dots showed the positions of critical infrastructure, communication relays, manufacturing centers, administrative headquarters. Earth's analysis indicates that galactic civilization depends heavily on centralized infrastructure and predictable travel patterns, she explained. "Your ships are powerful, but they are designed for conventional warfare against opponents who follow similar tactical doctrines." Dr. Lee added, "Our ships are designed for asymmetric warfare. Speed, stealth, and precision strikes against critical targets. We do not need to destroy entire fleets. We only need to disrupt the systems that hold galactic civilization together. The implications were clear to every military mind in the chamber. The humans were not threatening to conquer the galaxy. They were threatening to break it. Commander Lochtal rose to his feet, his massive frame shaking with anger. You would destroy galactic civilization rather than accept our authority? We would prefer not to fight at all, Admiral Hyunwoo replied calmly. That is why we are here to negotiate Earth's peaceful integration into the Council as an equal member. Ambassador Kethra felt her skin colors shifting to deep blues and purples as she struggled to process the situation. And if the Council refuses your request? The Admiral's expression remained pleasant, but there was something cold in his eyes when he answered. Then Earth will return to our previous policy of non-interference in galactic affairs. We will withdraw to our solar system and have no further contact with Council civilizations. That does not sound like much of a threat, said Ambassador Zenkil, his tree-like form rustling with skepticism. It would not be a threat, Admiral Hyunwoo agreed. It would simply mean that Earth becomes an independent civilization, with 8,000 advanced warships and detailed knowledge of every major galactic civilization's weaknesses. We would mind our own business, but we would also defend our interests. The silence that followed was heavy with unspoken implications. An independent Earth with superior technology and no obligations to follow galactic law would be a constant source of uncertainty for the Council. Pirates and rebels would seek their protection. Enemy civilizations would try to form alliances with them. The careful balance of power that had maintained galactic peace for centuries would be shattered. Ambassador Minho sensed that the moment was right to offer an alternative. However, Earth would much prefer to be part of the galactic community. We have much to offer as partners. Dr. Lee activated new displays showing human technological innovations, advanced manufacturing techniques, improved computer systems, revolutionary ship designs, all available for sharing with Council members. Earth is willing to contribute our technological advances to the common good, Dr. Lee explained. Our manufacturing methods could increase production efficiency across the galaxy. Our computer systems could improve everything from scientific research to military coordination. Our ship designs could enhance the defensive capabilities of all Council fleets, Captain Sojin added. We are also prepared to share our intelligence networks. Earth's agents throughout the galaxy could provide the Council with unprecedented information about threats from unknown regions of space. The offer was tempting, but many Council members still harbored resentment about being deceived for so long. Commander Lochtal voiced what many were thinking. How can we trust a species that has been lying to us for 2 centuries? Admiral Hyunwoo considered the question seriously before answering. Commander, Earth was not lying to you. We were simply not telling you everything. There is a difference. He gestured to the viewing screens showing the human fleet. We could have revealed ourselves at any time during the past 2 centuries. We could have used our technological advantages to conquer weaker civilizations or to challenge Council authority. Instead, we remained hidden and peaceful until you forced us to act by threatening our world. The Council leader raised his hand again for silence. The chamber fell quiet as the ancient being considered everything he had heard. His species had been part of galactic civilization longer than most others could remember, and his wisdom was respected throughout the galaxy. The humans present us with an unprecedented situation, he said finally. Never before has a single world appeared with the capability to fundamentally alter the balance of galactic power. We must consider our response very carefully. He looked directly at Admiral Hyunwoo. Admiral Kim, if the Council grants Earth full membership, what guarantees can you offer that humanity will abide by Council laws and decisions? The same guarantees that any member species offers, the Admiral replied. Earth will follow Council law as long as that law serves the common good. We will participate in collective decisions and abide by majority votes. We will contribute to common defense and share in common responsibilities. And if Council decisions conflict with Earth's interests, Admiral Hyunwoo smiled slightly, then Earth will exercise the same rights as any other member species.